My wife said, "We need to talk," then slid divorce papers across the table. I quietly took out my own copy. Hers was outdated. 3 days later, her lawyer called me crying. "My name is Evan. I'm 35. I work in logistics, supply chains, contracts, negotiations. I'm not the kind of guy who raises his voice or acts on impulse. I plan. I wait. I play the long game. And that's exactly why I didn't say a word the first time I suspected my wife was cheating. The night it all began was painfully quiet. We were at our favorite spot, Bellari's, a little Italian place with dim lighting, linen napkins, and the same violinist who always played the same 3 songs. Chelsea booked the reservation. She wore the black dress I got her for our anniversary. Hair curled, lipstick too perfect. She looked like a woman walking into a job interview, not a dinner with her husband. And me? I was calm. Too calm. Because I already knew what she was about to do. Let me rewind. A month before that dinner, I was at home recovering from a mild flu. Nothing serious. Just annoying. Chelsea thought I'd left for the office that day, but I stayed back and worked from the upstairs office instead. That's when I heard the door. At first, I figured she forgot something. Then I heard laughter. A man's voice. Deep, familiar. I peeked through the blinds. Her car was still there, but now there was another one beside it. Sleek. Black. It wasn't a friend's car. And when I checked the Ring camera footage later, my stomach dropped. There she was, Chelsea, opening the door in a robe, checking the street, then kissing him right there on our front porch. Quick, but it wasn't just a peck. And when he walked in, she did that little laugh she used to do with me. That's when I started planning. I didn't confront her. I didn't demand answers. I started collecting everything. That's what I'm good at. Data, patterns, evidence. Over the next 2 weeks, I got everything. Her texts, emails, calls. She wasn't even careful. They met up during overtime meetings. Once, she brought him to a hotel 20 minutes from our house while telling me she was attending a weekend business seminar. She had no clue I was tracking her Uber receipts through our shared credit account. So when she suggested date night, I smiled and said sure. Bellari's was already ruined for me, but I played along. I dressed well. I even brought flowers. But inside, I had something else in my briefcase. Dinner started normal. Small talk. Breadsticks. She asked about work, barely listening to my answer. She kept looking at her phone. Then she set it aside, took a deep breath, and smiled. "Evan, we need to talk," she said. I nodded. Waited. She reached into her purse and pulled out a thick envelope. Cream-colored. High-end paper. The kind you don't buy unless you've rehearsed this in your head. "I think we both know this marriage isn't working. I've spoken to a lawyer. These are the preliminary papers. We don't have to make this ugly." Then she slid it across the table. Just like that. Like a business deal. I took a moment. Stared at her. She looked so confident. Like she had the upper hand. She probably thought I'd panic, plead, or storm out. But I didn't move. I reached into my own briefcase and pulled out a nearly identical envelope. Only mine had thicker contents. I placed it beside her papers and pushed it toward her. She blinked. Smirked. "What's this?" "Divorce papers," I said casually. "Mine are dated later than yours. Yours are outdated." The smirk vanished. She opened it. Inside, my full filing. With supporting documents. Photo evidence. Logs. Records. Messages. Screenshots. Dates, times, maps. And, most importantly, a legal clause from our prenup highlighted in yellow, the fidelity clause. She flipped through the pages in silence. Her mouth slowly opened, but no sound came out. I took a sip of wine. "You should read all of it," I said. Her hands trembled just slightly. Evan, this isn't. The man you brought to the Marriott on the 14th is married. And employed by your company. You're both under investigation now." She swallowed hard. That was true. I'd sent everything to her company's HR department under an anonymous submission the morning after I saw the hotel footage. "You don't have to say anything right now," I added. "But your lawyer should call mine. We're past this being amicable." The violinist played something soft in the background. It was surreal. She stared at me, stunned. I took the check. Paid in cash. She didn't even reach for her wallet. And as I walked out, I said one last thing. "You really should have locked the front door, Chelsea." I didn't look back. The first call didn't come from Chelsea. It came from her lawyer. Technically, it came to my lawyer, but the message was loud and clear. They weren't ready for war. They barely understood they were already in one. My attorney, Mike, an older guy with a noble style and a quiet love for chess, called me the next morning. "She hired someone cheap," he said. First red flag. But here's the kicker. He didn't even know about the prenup clause. She didn't tell him about the affair. I almost laughed. "She's been treating this like a negotiation," Mike continued. "But your paperwork? That was an execution. That fidelity clause makes her claims for assets laughable." He paused, then added, "By the way," he sounded shaken. Voice cracked a little. "Begged for a soft settlement. I told him no. Chelsea had already calculated her way out of this marriage. What she hadn't calculated was that I'd quietly beaten her to the exit. The prenup wasn't new. We signed it before marriage. Her dad had pushed for it. Actually, he was a high-net-worth guy, paranoid about gold diggers. Irony, I guess. But that clause? It was mine. I requested it. And Chelsea, confident as ever back then, said it didn't matter. We'll never need it. Well, now it meant everything. The prenup stated clearly, if infidelity was proven, with time-stamped evidence, any claim to joint assets would be nullified. And I had plenty. I didn't just have one picture. I had 6. 2 hotel receipts. And a screenshot of her texting the words, "I think I'm falling for you." That text alone was worth about $120,000 in real estate equity. Meanwhile, Chelsea was spinning out. I heard from a mutual friend, Lauren, that she hadn't gone into work the day after dinner. She was sick. Her company had placed her VP on leave, pending an investigation. The gossip was spreading. But that wasn't the part that made my phone buzz. It was the joint savings account. I opened the banking app out of habit, just to keep an eye on things, and paused. 3 transfers. All within 48 hours. All in round numbers. $10,000. $12,000. $25,000. Gone. Not to her personal account. Not to a credit card. To a new account I'd never seen before. The name on it? CNR Ventures, LLC. CNR, Chelsea and Richard. Her VP's name. They were trying to move money out of the marital pool. Probably thought I wouldn't notice. Maybe she thought the papers would hit first, and I'd be too distracted to check. I called Mike. He went quiet for a moment, then said, "Let me call the judge." That afternoon, he filed for a temporary financial restraining order. It worked. The court froze the account. Chelsea tried to deny it in an email that same night. Claimed she was starting a side business, and that this has nothing to do with the divorce. But I had the screenshots. She and Richard had been planning this for weeks. Even joked about moving to Costa Rica. They weren't just cheating. They were stealing. I replied once. "You may want to tell your lawyer the truth before mine does." She didn't reply, but 2 hours later, her lawyer did. Not with words. With a settlement offer. Low. Pathetic. She wanted the car, a 40-60 custody split of our daughter, and half the house. Mike called me to deliver it. "They're panicking," he said. I asked him to reject it. Then I asked him something else. "Can we go after full custody?" He paused, then said, "We'll need to show negligence. Something more than cheating." I nodded. "Don't worry. I've got something." And I did. Because there was one piece of evidence Chelsea hadn't seen yet. Something small, but powerful. A piece of paper taped to my home office wall. A drawing. By our 7-year-old daughter. And the title she wrote on it? "When Mommy Lies." Her name is Grace. She's 7. She's the reason I didn't flip the table when I saw Chelsea kiss another man on our doorstep. She's the reason I didn't shout, didn't break, didn't slam doors or scream when I found the hotel receipts. Everything I did from the moment I found out, I did quietly, to protect her. Grace is sensitive, smart, a little too observant. That became clear the day her teacher called me. "Mr. Callahan," the voice said, "I just wanted to let you know we had a little incident in class today." She paused. My stomach sank. She drew something during art time. We had the kids do truth and lies drawings, a little exercise. But Grace's, well, hers was about her mother. I was already reaching for my keys. When I got to the school, the counselor handed me the paper. At the top, in crooked letters, "When Mommy Lies." In the center, a stick figure, Chelsea, with long hair, hugging a man in a suit. Beside them was another figure, small and curled in the corner, with tears. Above that figure, Grace had written, "Me." I just stared at it. Couldn't even speak. She said she heard her mom on the phone one night, the counselor explained. Said she called a man baby and told him daddy would be gone another hour. I closed my eyes. She also said she stayed home alone one night for a little bit while her mom went for a drive. That was it. That was what I needed. Negligence. I asked the counselor if she'd be willing to put what Grace said in a statement, just for custody evaluation. She said yes, without hesitation. I walked out with the drawing in a folder. At home, Grace was sitting on the couch watching cartoons, completely unaware of the legal grenade she'd just handed me. Later that evening, Chelsea called. Not a text. A full call. I didn't answer. She left a voicemail. "We need to talk about Grace. I heard from her school. Don't weaponize this. She's confused. She's just a kid." The moment she said that, "Don't weaponize this," I knew she was scared. Because for once, she couldn't control the narrative. Grace's truth was in her art, and that picture hit harder than any court filing I could have written myself. I sent the drawing and the school's report to Mike. He called me back 15 minutes later. "This changes things," he said. "We'll request a custody review hearing. Emergency status." 3 days later, the court set a date. Chelsea's lawyer tried to delay it, claimed it was manipulative and emotionally damaging. The judge disagreed. At the hearing, Chelsea tried to smile. Wore soft colors. No makeup. Like she'd studied Pinterest boards for court-appropriate mom looks. Didn't matter. Mike presented the drawing. The counselor's testimony. Grace's quote. The judge leaned forward, frowned, and asked Chelsea directly, "Have you ever left your daughter alone at home?" She hesitated. Said, "Only once. For 5 minutes. She was asleep. 5 became 10. Then 20. Then a quick drive. Eventually, she just stopped answering." The judge ordered temporary joint legal custody, but physical custody went to me, pending further review. Chelsea was stunned. She followed me into the hallway after the ruling. "Evan," she hissed, "this isn't how this is supposed to go. You're ruining everything." I turned. "No," I said. "You ruined it the moment you chose him over her." She stared at me, then did the thing she always did when she felt cornered. She pivoted. "I'll fight for her," she said. "You can't keep her from me." I nodded slowly. "Then you'd better clean up your side of the battlefield." Because her VP? He wasn't just a cheater. He was hiding something bigger. And soon, it was going to drag her down, too. I didn't go looking for more. But when betrayal cracks the dam, everything starts leaking. After the custody hearing, things got quiet for about a day. Grace was adjusting to the change. I took time off work. We drew pictures, watched old Disney movies, cooked pancakes for dinner. For the first time in months, the house felt like a home again. Then the bank called. A routine fraud alert. Nothing major. Just a flagged transaction from a business account under my name. Only, I didn't have a business account. Not that one. I pulled up the account number and felt my blood go cold. It was under an LLC I didn't recognize, CNR Ventures. I stared at it for 10 seconds before it clicked. C for Chelsea. R for Richard. Her VP. The same initials that appeared in one of her late-night texts. We're finally going to have something of our own. No more hiding. CNR. I called Mike. He dug. By the next morning, he'd uncovered 3 cash transfers from our joint savings account, totaling $47,000, into CNR Ventures. And get this, the LLC had been registered 4 months ago. She'd started building her new life before she even slid the papers across the table. The business was meant to be their parachute. But Chelsea didn't realize she'd just jumped out of a plane with no cord. Because when Mike pulled the registration docs, we found something even better. The address listed on the LLC? Our house. She tied the business directly to marital property. That gave us jurisdiction. We filed a motion the next day, requested the court freeze all business assets linked to our shared funds and home address. Chelsea's lawyer didn't respond, but she did. She showed up at my house the next night. I opened the door and saw someone I barely recognized. She looked different, not in the superficial way, though the makeup was gone, the earrings missing. It was in the posture, the silence. Like the mask had cracked and there was no energy left to tape it back together. "I need to talk to you," she said. I stepped aside. Barely. She came in and sat on the couch like she still belonged there. "I didn't mean for it to go this far," she said. I said nothing. I thought we'd split, and it would just reset. Clean break. You'd be fine. I'd have something ready. But this is getting ugly. "It was always ugly," I said. "You just dressed it up." Then she got mad. The old Chelsea came roaring back. "You think you're so calm? So righteous? You were always calculating, like some cold machine. Never reacted. Never fought. It's like you wanted me to fall out of love with you." I laughed. Not loud. Just one dry exhale. Falling out of love is one thing. Embezzling our daughter's college fund to start a business with your affair partner is another. She went quiet. Then, the threat. "If you don't back off, if you keep pushing this, I'll make your life hell. I'll say anything. Abuse. Control. I'll say you scared me. You'll lose her." There it was. The nuclear option. I stood slowly, walked over to the bookshelf, and pulled out a small black device. The recorder blinked red. "Thanks," I said. "That's the last piece I needed." She stared at it. Pale. Silent. Then she stood and walked out. She didn't slam the door. She didn't even close it all the way. She just left. And 3 days later, Richard, her precious VP, got arrested. Turns out CNR Ventures wasn't just their little fantasy. It was a funnel. Money laundering. Wire fraud. Corporate theft. Chelsea hadn't just burned her marriage. She'd tied herself to a sinking ship. And the court had just enough rope to pull her under. I thought she'd go out screaming. Chelsea never lost anything without clawing the walls. She was raised on image, built on control, and had always been the one to walk away first. Jobs, fights, even family dinners. But when her world finally fell apart, she didn't scream. She crumbled. It started the day Richard was officially charged. The story broke online. It wasn't front-page news, but it was juicy enough. corporate VP under federal investigation for embezzlement scheme involving romance with employee. I didn't have to send the link. It found its way to everyone. Her company suspended her immediately. Her name was redacted from the article, but the comments section figured it out fast. Photos from parties. LinkedIn tags. One even posted a screenshot from her vacation with Richard, one she had posted herself months ago. By noon, she'd deleted all her socials. By 5 p.m., she was no longer employed. That evening, her lawyer called Mike. No smugness this time. Just a quiet question. Is there any room for negotiation? Mike asked me. I said, only if she gives up the car and drops the 20% claim on my retirement. We heard nothing for 2 days. Then came the letter. Chelsea mailed it to me directly. Not through the lawyers. Just a plain envelope with my name on it. Inside, 2 handwritten pages. No apology. Just regret. She wrote that she never expected to feel scared of me. Not physically, just scared of how calm I'd been. How quiet I stayed. She said it felt like I had vanished emotionally months before she ever met Richard. She blamed herself, then me, then herself again. She tried to justify the business. Claimed it was meant to be a backup plan if things got worse. But the line that stuck with me was this. I always thought you'd fight for me. I never imagined you'd prepare for my exit before I even asked to leave. That was the moment I realized something. She hadn't just underestimated me. She'd built her entire exit plan assuming I'd fall apart. She wanted chaos. Screaming. Late-night calls. Me begging her to stay. She wanted to win something. But I gave her nothing. Just the sound of the rope snapping, one thread at a time. When we met in court again, this time for the financial review, she looked older. Different. Her hair was tied back. No heels. No jewelry. She agreed to every term. No spousal support. No equity in the house. Full custody to me, with supervised visitation until further notice. She signed the paperwork without flinching. Then, as we stood up to leave, she looked at me and said, "Do you ever think we could have made it if things had been different?" I didn't answer, because I'd already learned, you don't argue with someone still building a fantasy. I walked out first. Mike followed me to the elevator. He didn't say much, just clapped me on the back and said, "That was poetic." Maybe it was, but it wasn't over. Not yet, because Chelsea had one final performance left, and she picked the worst possible stage for it. I thought she might go quietly after that, but Chelsea never liked losing on the record, and unfortunately for her, our divorce and custody filings were on the record, which meant she had one more angle to try. Public redemption. It came in the form of a charity brunch. I only found out about it because one of the parents from Grace's school sent me the flyer. There she was on the front, Chelsea Callahan, listed as a guest speaker and advocate for women rebuilding after divorce. The theme? Rising Stronger. I actually laughed when I saw it. Mike didn't. She's trying to control the narrative, he said. Could be a backdoor media move, or worse, court manipulation. If she paints herself as a victim, and enough people buy it, she could make a custody appeal stick. I nodded. So let's make sure she doesn't. We called in the favor. A friend of mine from college, now a local reporter, agreed to attend the brunch. She wouldn't film anything directly, but she'd listen. 2 days before the event, Chelsea's social accounts came back online, all shiny and rebranded. She posted old pictures of Grace, of vacations. She made it seem like she was the strong single mom doing her best to rebuild after a heartbreak she didn't cause. But then came the big day, and I made a small change to the guest list. Chelsea had forgotten one thing. The court order stated she couldn't present Grace publicly. No appearances, no photos, no names, without my written consent. And in her brunch speech, she used our daughter's name. Twice. The reporter got it on audio. It wasn't a leak. It wasn't some paparazzi moment. It was her own voice, standing at a podium, saying, "My daughter Grace keeps me going. Even on the hardest days, I wake up and think, if I'm strong for her, everything will be okay." Everything would have been okay. Until that. The next morning, we filed a contempt motion. Violation of court order. Public exploitation of a minor without custodial consent. We included her Instagram story, the event flyer, the audio. All of it. Mike said it best. She gave us the final nail. Now we just used the hammer. Chelsea's lawyer called, frantic. Tried to downplay it. Claimed it was an accident. That she didn't realize the name mention counted. But the judge didn't care. He revoked her unsupervised visitation and pushed the next review hearing 6 months out. Chelsea went silent again. That night, I tucked Grace into bed. She asked if Mommy was mad. I said, "No, baby. Mommy's just figuring things out." Grace thought for a second. Then she said, "She should draw a picture. It helps." It broke me a little, but I smiled. Later, while cleaning, I found an old photo strip of me and Chelsea from our first year together. We were smiling, holding frozen yogurt, her lipstick smudged on my cheek. We looked like kids. I tucked it away. Not out of nostalgia, out of evidence. Because someday Grace will ask for the truth. And I'll have it. Every page, every photo, every lie, and every move I made to protect her from it. And that's the story. If you're still here, that means you're one of us. So go ahead, hit that subscribe button. I drop new chaos every single day, and trust me, tomorrow's story, it's even worse than this one.